my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. So this review will be non-spoiler, so if you have not read this book, please stick around and you can hear my thoughts on this book, and I promise you will not be spoiled. I absolutely loved this book. I haven't read many like young adult books with this type of storyline to it. It is a young adult, I would say like thriller. You know, we've got like a murder mystery going on and it's set in like the Victorian era, and I really loved it. I ended up giving it like a 4.5 or 4.75 out of 5 stars. Really close to a 5 out of 5 stars. Can we just take a moment and look at the cover? Look at it. It's amazing. I love this cover, and I love the back with all of the surgical instruments. So in this story, we follow our main character, Audrey Rose. I believe she's like between 16 and 18 years old, something like that. I forget her exact age, but she is being groomed to be like the perfect lady, and she hates it. She secretly apprentices for her uncle in forensics, and she is working in the morgue to learn how to do autopsies and learn about like crime and crime scenes and stuff like that. So she is doing this behind her father's back. Now one day these gruesome murders start to happen, and these murders are caused by Jack the Ripper. So Audrey is trying to figure out who is brutally murdering these young women. Now, as I mentioned, this is quite an interesting book that I haven't really read, especially in young adult. It's suspenseful, it's a thriller, it's kind of gruesome and gory, but I really loved like the biology aspect of this book as well. Like you get a lot of science. Now, if you can still read this book if you don't know anything about like anatomy and physiology and like forensics and stuff like that. Like that is not, you're not going to be lost at all. I just was able to appreciate it, especially since that's what I do. I work in the medical field, so I deal with a lot of like anatomy, physiology, and biology. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the book just because I was able to relate to it a little bit more. But as I mentioned, it's not gonna change the outcome of being able to understand it whatsoever. I really enjoyed the main character, Audrey Rose. She is very clever. She's very witty, sassy, sarcastic. I'm just loving all of these like witty, sarcastic characters. Like I feel like we don't have enough of those characters that are well done. She's also very smart and intelligent, and I actually love her defiance of the like society. She's supposed to be learning to embroider and sew and knit and go to tea parties, but no, she wants to get down and dirty and work in the morgue and go to crime scenes and stuff like that. So I really loved her like just thirst for knowledge and her defiance of like society with that. I thought that it really added so much to her character. As far as like her character development, she doesn't have that much because she starts off as such a strong character that, you know, she doesn't have like such massive character development towards the end. Same with like some of the other characters, like the main character, Thomas, that she ends up kind of working with. He also doesn't have as much character development, and I feel like that's a little bit where I docked the book, just because it's not necessarily the character development, it's just kind of like character building. I feel like we didn't know enough about the characters and I wanted to know more. I also really enjoyed the suspense in this book. I feel like this book wasn't too obvious, but it also wasn't extremely shocking. Like I feel like she did a great job at dropping hints here and there as to help you figure out who, you know, Jack the Ripper is, but I kind of maybe wish that we had been completely shocked at the very end. So like I was able to figure it out probably maybe halfway through the book. I was like going back and forth between who I thought was Jack the Ripper. I had like one person highest on my list that I was like, I think that's who it is, and I ended up being right. So it wasn't like overly shocking, the ending, but it wasn't extremely obvious at the same time. But there are twists at the end that I would have never figured out. Like the motive. I would have never thought that would have been the motive for all of these murders. Now let's talk a little bit about the writing. I really enjoyed the writing style. I loved the setting. It's set in like Victorian times, and I loved the clothing, the dialogue, the mannerisms between how like girls and boys, men and women should act. It's like so scandalous when like women aren't wearing long gowns and dresses during this time, and that's where you see a lot of like Audrey Rose's defiance is like her clothing choices. The pacing as well is really good. I got through this book pretty quickly. It's not very long. I think it's like 318 pages. Yeah, it's 318 pages. This book is also set in Audrey Rose's first person point of view, which I loved. It really added to her thought process. Like, I loved being in her head just because she's so clever and she's really sassy. I thought it added so much more to her character, and it added a lot to the book as well. Okay, so I wanted to read a quote from the book. It's not going to spoil anything, so don't worry. It just basically just gives you a sense of like Audrey Rose's humor and how society is. So basically at this point, she's like at a tea party. All the women are talking about like finding husbands and how women should act. And Audrey Rose ends up saying, "Surely boys are interested in proposing only to girls in lacy gowns. Why care about beauty and brains when they can have beauty over brains? Foolish creatures they are." It's just so sarcastic, and just her thought process is so different from everybody else around her, but I love it. It is fantastic. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I enjoyed this book so much. If you are really into like these kind of spooky Halloween, October, like those like, you know, spooky, atmospheric, eerie type books, I really think you'll enjoy this one. It's not overly graphic. It's not horror. I feel like it's got just enough suspense and violence and like thriller type atmosphere for young adult, or like for those of you that aren't really into like scary books, because that's definitely not me. I'm not into anything scary, but I feel like this book is just, it's really good, and it's making me want to like dip my toes into more thriller, suspenseful type books. So who knows, maybe I'll venture out and read something a little bit more, but I was very satisfied with this book as far as like that type of genre. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's all I really have to say. Please comment down below. Let me know if you have read this book and let me know what your thoughts were on it. Of course, no spoilers, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!